Welcome to the thrilling world of Security Squawk, where we explore cybersecurity. Guiding you through online threats, we'll aid you in understanding safety protocols and trends. Meet our gurus, Bryan from Xact IT, Reginald from Arc Solvers, and Randy from Tech Rescue. Together, we'll delve into current events and hot cybersecurity topics, helping you comprehend their impact. Stay informed, stay secure. Security Squawk, the business of cybersecurity. Buckle up, let's dive in.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Security Squawk podcast. I'm Bryan Horning, CEO of Xact IT. Here with my MSP sidekicks, Randy, Bryan of Tech Rescue, Reginald, and André of Arc Solvers. What's up, guys?
How's it going?
Hey, happy Thanksgiving, man.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving week. And André, we're going to let you give everybody that Thanksgiving tip at the end of the show. So stay tuned. So glad you guys are here. At least to keep me honest. Randy, we got a big show today. We're going to talk about three, I guess, very different but brutally real ransomware stories. I guess that's the trend for this week. We're going to talk about ransomware. André is going to bring us this story about this group that calls themselves the Gentlemen. It's kind of a strange name, I think. I don't know. But our dual extortion strategy is Andre's going to fill us in on what that is and what this group's up to. Randy, you're going to bring us a piece on a big picture AI espionage with some enterprise implications. And I'm going to walk everyone through a case that should scare every business owner out there when, you know those CAPTCHA things that you got to do to log into websites?
Yep.
Well, cyber criminals have gotten really good at making fake CAPTCHA pages. And one of those led to a 42-day compromise by the notorious Akira ransomware gang. I'm going to bring you the details of how this organization became a victim. And quite frankly, they had some tools in place. And unfortunately, those tools failed to detect what was going on. And I'm going to fill you in on what failed, why it failed, and how Akira was able to deploy ransomware in 42 days on this organization. So first topic up for the show, Gentlemen Ransomware Group. André, Gentlemen. It's like, sounds polite, but
it sounds, yeah. I even did a little thing here, Gentlemen.
Right.
So we have this Gentlemen's Ransomware. So I guess, they have the first name as a nice name, Gentlemen, but then they put ransomware afterwards. And this is a group that showed up this year in July. But in the first 90 days, they are doing a good job. They've actually hit 48 victims. They have a dark web leak site, and they have a very polished ransomware as a service. So what that basically means is that they are providing all of the backend tools, all of the backend program, and then all you have to do is just find that client, and they'll do the rest. And they're going after Windows, Linux, and a lot of backup tools. And what we see is, being that they just started in July, this definitely isn't some type of rookie group. This is most likely, we've been hearing FBI closing down, or even the bad guys themselves closing down their ransomware business because there's just too much heat on them. Or they made so much money, they're like, all right, let's just take a break. And these could also even just be other, employees of other employees of the businesses that said, you know what, let's start our own, because here we are helping the boss make all this money when we can do it ourselves. So what they basically do is once the what's the word? Not the tool, but once it's installed, the malware, excuse me. Once the malware is installed on the computer, what they look to do is they disable Windows Defender. And there's always been talks about, is Windows Defender enough? Because there are some easy ways to actually disable it, especially if the computer is not locked down. So they're using PowerShell to basically turn off Windows Defender and the real-time protection. And that means that if your business have basic security, if like a lot of times you hear with people with Macs that says, well, Mac is going to protect me. And yes, Windows has Windows Defender. There's the free version. There's a more enterprise version. So maybe that could help stop it. But if you have basic security, they're going to be able to go ahead and disable that. And then from there, what they then do is they start doing encryption. They're going to look to see if any of your system have any backups. And if it has any backups, they're going to also stop the backups. And eventually you're going to get a sign on your computer that says, we have your data. Go and try to check your backups, but your backups are going to show that it's been failing. And from there, they even destroy the evidence. They destroy the log files, the Defender log files, and this is just in time for the holidays.
Bro, it's like your story and my story have so many similarities, it's not even funny. And we're talking about two different ransomware groups that are operating almost identically to one another.
Yeah.
And they're attacking in layers, which is really scary. They're taking out layers at a time over periods of time, which is another really scary thing that people need to recognize. So at the end of the show, I'm going to make my prediction for 2026 because I can see the pattern and I can see what's going on. But there's also something that I want to discuss, and I'll talk about it more in my segment because that's where I was going to go with the story anyway. We want to blame the Microsoft Defender, as you said, and questions about Microsoft Defender. I don't think the question's about Microsoft Defender. I think the question and what we need to be looking at is the people who are driving the car, which are the administrators who are setting these things up. I think that's where the real problem lies, and we'll dig into more of that. But go ahead, Randy.
Man, I was just going to say it looked like they took a couple of pages out of the sales and marketing playbook, right?
Right.
They've come
There's
up
like
with
some mastermind group for.
Well, it really does, because they're not coming out with all this complexity. It's a simple name, simple logo, and here's our vertical or our shtick. We're going to go after Windows Defender. We're going to shut it down. We're going to have it bypass.
They're not going after Windows Defender though. They're going after every single EDR out there. It doesn't need to be Windows Defender.
Okay. I was just looking in there in this write-up, and that's what it mentioned.
Correct.
Specifically.
Yeah, if you're just
Windows
looking
Defender.
at this article solely, you could point the finger to Windows Defender because that's the EDR in question. But I'm aware of other EDRs, Sentinel-1, the big ones, getting taken out as well, or at least things being done without it doing proper alerting, which I'm going to get into when I talk.
Interesting. Well, but yeah, this, it's like they launched with like a marketing plan and a business plan and all of that. So,
I would say an operational plan. Like once they get in, they know what they're doing. They know what they're looking for. They know that they're not trying to strike overnight. They're taking their time. They're doing as much damage as they can before they reveal themselves. That's the playbook.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. Like I said, especially during the holidays. Also, one more thing is they don't have. It's a joke, but never mind. I'll say the joke after.
Uh-oh. You can say it after what?
In the green room.
Oh boy. You can't even say it on the show.
I stopped myself.
Randy, any last thoughts here?
No, sir. I'm ready to move on to the next one.
You ready to go?
Yes, sir.
All right. So appreciate it, Andre. Very interesting where this is going with EDR. And this next one is Randy and this AI espionage disruption. What's going on here?
Well, we've been talking about AI and, Chat GPT or bad GPT. We've been talking about that for like at least a year, maybe 2 years, that it's going to be a thing. And we know that the bad guys are using like custom prompts to write like emails and this or that. but this particular attack is going to go down in history as the first known agentic AI attack. So, back 15 years ago, we had the time where people were, writing scripts for, attacks. And then we had like these super hyper targeted attacks. And then we had like the last few years, we've seen a lot of automation and stuff like that with attacks. But even with that, it's just code. It's not thinking for itself. But now with this particular attack, which Anthropic has revealed that they stopped, they used agentic AI. Basically, it means AI acting autonomously. And so it turns out in these cases, they targeted about 50 big businesses. And it turns out in these cases that the AI was making 80 to 90% of the decisions, writing code on the fly. So like back in the day, we talked about living off the land. They've got them a little place set up inside your network, and they're learning about your network and, how to extract data and all that jazz. They've done something similar this time, but with AI. So what we've seen over the past like 4-ish years, 2022, the average time it took for human driven, like they're living off the land and they start making lateral movement, took about 80 minutes. And then 2023, they get a foothold. They start doing the lateral movement. Took about 60 minutes. Last year was down below 50 minutes that they start, they've got control. They start making lateral movement. And this particular attack, they were making lateral movement in less than a minute. So they're getting in, the AI's making the decisions, AI's looking for vulnerabilities, writing code on the fly, and in less than a minute, starting to make lateral movement in the network, which yeah, exactly. Like we're going to all remember like this little time when we switched into the agentic malware, phase of the world. Because why this matters, y'all, and y'all know this, but for our viewers, why this matters is our model up until this week has been, okay, the bad guys get in, it trips some wires, maybe some machine learning looks at it, maybe some AI looks at the data coming from this potential infection or whatever, this breach. And then, like
theoretically to what you just said right there.
What's that?
With theoretically, it should be.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, this is how it ought to have been done. But, and then like it raises a flag and a human looks at it. And so we're like, 0 to from, they get in to where we lock them out, it's 90 minutes. Isn't that great? Blah, blah, blah. That's what's been happening up till now on the, in the best areas. Maybe they get in and it's blocked by one of the, the barriers you put in place or whatever. But in this case, the AI is starting to go lateral in less than a minute, which is going to just have to change how we deal with things and how we look at stuff. I think, Bryan, you probably brought it on the show first. I don't know if you coined it originally out in the world. It's a cat and mouse game is literally what it is. And we just got into like a check situation, checkmate in chess. This is putting everybody in a check situation. Shouldn't be a checkmate. Obviously, the good guys are going to respond and we're going to deal with this. But this just shows what's possible out there. And, these guys were already exfiltrating data and sending it off site very, very, very quickly. So now it's going to go to where it's not humans reacting quickly. It's going to have to be AI acting quickly, which, makes me think about Terminator 3 and Terminator 2, right? But that's the case. We're going to have to put AI in charge of quick reactions is how what it's going to boil down to. If we already haven't, it's going to have to happen. You disagree? You're shaking your head.
None of this makes me feel good because
I know, right?
We're just going to roll right into my topic and what I'm going to call out and what I'm predicting for 2026, which is everything I'm reading from Andre's article to what you just laid out to what I am reading. I believe we are now at a place with our cybersecurity protections where a lot of what is out there was done just to check a box, and it wasn't done for the right reasons. And I'm going to blame cyber insurance as probably the main driver for what I'm about to get into. You know, it's one thing to have this story here about a fake CAPTCHA leading to 42 days of compromise. But when you start to peel back the layers of what went on here, guys, right? Sure, it's scary that a click one button scenario let chaos reign on a company where cyber criminals were able to put a remote access Trojan in by people clicking on that CAPTCHA thing, right? So they click on it, it injects something either using a Chrome exploit, or they trick the user into clicking on it thinking like, oh, I got to install something here to get the CAPTCHA to work, right? That's another way that these can kind of go down. But at the end of the day, a remote access Trojan was installed on the network. Excuse me. That resulted in the 42 days of compromised systems, lateral movement, exfiltration of data, and finally a ransom. But what's the common theme here, guys? Nobody's detecting this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All of it's going under the radar, unnoticed. Now,
dang,
to an untrained eye, it could seem like these tools are failing, or the cyber criminals are doing things so sophisticated or using AI, as Randy has laid out, that it's just getting harder and harder for our tools to pick this up. So, no, that's not the case. The reality of it is in Andre's case and in this case, and it basically what Randy laid out, is that these tools are being put in place, guys, at a massive scale, and they are not being configured correctly to set up the proper alerting that's needed. So think of it this way. You could have EDR. You could have a SOC team, a 24/7 team that watches what's going on with all those endpoints and take action immediately if something bad happens. And you could have all that in place. But if your people, if your IT person, if your cybersecurity experts, your MSP just installs that tool and they don't go in and maybe have a policy template that they know works and apply it to that EDR, or they don't go in and configure that tool based on your needs and how you have, if you have a SOC team, is your SOC team receiving those alerts properly? Are they able to see it? Or is it just, look, you can have a SOC team, you can have an EDR, and those two things could not be talking, and you're paying for both services, and you have no idea. Yeah, we got a SOC, yeah, we got an EDR, but they're not talking. And we see this all the time when we audit companies. So in 2026, I believe that the exposure of MSPs, of IT departments, of IT companies not configuring these tools correctly and these types of breaches occurring is going to be a major story that's going to come up time and time and time again. Executives are going to be left wondering why we're investing in these tools. Did we get hit like this? And it's really going to come down to people just not understanding that they needed to go in and do more to these tools than just install them and walk away and say, yeah, we're good. Yeah, we have EDR, check a box. We have cyber insurance. We can move on.
Yeah.
That's where we're at, guys.
Yeah.
And I think 2026 is going to pull the Band-Aid off of that, and AI is just going to make it easier for them to do so.
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine it as like a bad guy who's a master locksmith. He knows how to break into all of the 2024 and below Honda Civics, let's just say. And then now he goes into a 2025 Honda Civic. They put in a new mechanism. He's never heard of it before. And now it's like him being able to use ChatGPT in his mind and just basically saying, how do I maneuver this? And then instantly go here. So it's like the same concept. I'm in the computer, there's Windows Defender, and it automatically will see which version, see if that version has a vulnerability, and then automatically write a code to now just bypass that vulnerability and just keep on going. Oh, you're using Veeam backup? Okay, well, let me just boom, 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 like instantly.
I'm not even going there, dude. I'm telling you, like, this is like people having alarm systems on their house and not setting when they leave. Like, that's what I'm talking. It's that egregious as to what's going on. You're buying these EDR products, but you're not setting the alarms to let the people know. Like, so like you're either buying an alarm system, like, so EDR without a SOC is like buying an alarm system without the alarm system being able to call the police or fire when something happens. Right? Meaning like you like people buy these Ring alarm systems, right? And they don't connect them to the police or the fire department because it costs an extra monthly fee, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they just monitor it themselves. That's literally what some people do with EDR, right? But at the same time, if you don't set the alerts to go off when somebody opens a door that shouldn't be opened when you're not home, that's the same exact thing that these EDRs are set to do. And out of the box, a lot of them are not set to alert like that. You have to go in and say, hey, if this happens, I want to get an alert.
Right.
Hey, if this happens, I want to get an alert. It doesn't, because out of the box, if it creates a lot of noise, people aren't going to use the software. And these guys who make this software know this. So they build the feature, but they don't turn it on by default. So you have to know to go in and configure your tools properly. Otherwise, you're like, setting up alarm systems in your own house or for other people, and you're telling them they're good, yet they're not. And they walk around with this false sense of security because the expert said, yep, I set you up correctly.
Yep.
And it's not egregious. I think they just don't know. I think it's like this stuff has evolved so much that some people treat today's antivirus like 10 years ago antivirus, right? Where it doesn't have 27 modules now, like it does now. It had 2 or 3 back then. So that's the deal. I think that's what's going on. People don't understand what they have to do to make everything work properly, to alert properly. So, when you're not around, the people who know what to do can take action, meaning like when the police come to your house, when people are breaking in and you're not home, that's what a SOC team does. They come in and they stop that threat. And a lot of this, it can be configured the right way or the wrong way. And a lot of experts out there tell people they set these things up the right way. And I think that's the big exposure coming in 2026.
But I think that's also the power of the branding and marketing of some of these companies. And I don't want to pick on CrowdStrike, but a lot of times you can be talking with someone, they're like, oh yeah, I have CrowdStrike. And you're like, oh yeah, that's good. That's CrowdStrike's good. But if you misconfigured it, or just like you said, just put it out of the box, it's as good as and not picking on Windows Defender, but it's just as good as nothing, because again, just going back to, is it configured properly?
Right. And even Windows Defender has a ton of configuration that most people have no idea of. It's not just the antivirus running on your machine. There's tons that can be configured. And you're right. It's usually not.
Yeah. I mean, I would say to build on what you said there, Randy, like, yes, like most organizations think of EDR and XDR and stuff like that as like, I just need to worry about my endpoint.
Mm-hmm.
No, because like if I need to know if somebody's moving around laterally in your network, I need to see what's happening on your firewall. I need to see what's happening on your switches. And I need to have all that configured to go back to my security team so they can analyze all of that. If they're only getting the data from the computers or the endpoints, you're not even getting a third of the data that you need to figure out if somebody's moving laterally. And I would say that 95 to 99% of the companies that we audit do not have that configured at all. They have endpoint, but their firewalls, their switches, their network devices are not configured to send that data to the security team. And that's a big gap. That's a big problem. Do you guys see the same stuff?
Yep.
Yeah. Because they just say the name. Oh, I got this, and then but is it set up properly?
Right.
Yep. Been seeing it for years, man.
Yeah, and I'm not going to sit here and say you need a risk assessment. I mean, you definitely need a risk assessment, but I've been saying that for 10 years, and people still don't get them. So I don't say it no more. You'll figure it out.
Right.
So, all right, guys, let's wrap it up. Here are
All
the takeaways for me today. This gentleman ransomware group, new group, sounds a lot like how the old groups are running. Very scary how quickly they're learning. Using dual extortion, abusing legitimate tools, and aiming for high impact sectors. And that's what Akira, Klopp, all these new guys, all the big guys are doing. And you see the little guys coming in and following suit and having great success right out the bat. So AI espionage means your data and models are now part of the battlefront, not just endpoints and servers. AI is going to make things a lot faster, a lot harder for those security teams to deal with stuff, especially if you don't have things configured properly. The Akira capture case reminds us that one click can lead to weeks and weeks of undetected compromise. And it's the storm you don't see, the quiet one, that will kill you. And you need to be aware that that's happening in your business. The tools alone don't make you secure. How you deploy them, how you tune them, configure them, and the staff you put behind them, like a SOC team, these are the non-negotiables you need to have today when André or when Randy's talking about AI attacks like he's talking about. Any last thoughts, guys, before I really wrap it up and bring the show home?
Yeah, so as you guys are feasting on your Thanksgiving food and having a great time with your
Bring the dad joke home, André.
Okay. Well, as you're feasting on your food and having your Thanksgiving turkey, we know the conversations around the Thanksgiving table won't be about cybersecurity. However, I will highly encourage you. This is also going to be the time when just like your sense of defenses are just a little down, a couple of drinks, some cranberry sauce in your system and things like that. And this is going to be the time when you're going to get these text messages, you're going to get these alerts, you're going to just get something, and you may just hit the yes button or whatever. But
Amazon delivery has been delayed.
Exactly, something like that, So just keep that in mind, because our last episode from last week, we talked about all of these different breaches. And I will be the first one to admit that I was a couple of years ago on July 4th, I got a Bank of America text, and I was in the process of falling for it. So just be careful out there.
I actually almost fell for one of our fake fishes the other day.
Oh,
I was
wow.
like, oh, you guys. You guys. You almost got me. Mm-hmm. So I looked at it again, and I was like, oh no. I'm pretty sure that's the domain we use for fake fishes.
That's good.
The fact that I even opened it, I was like, wow. Yeah, good point. Just to add on to what you were saying there, André, about, just being tricked. Mm-hmm. Yeah, personally, but if you own a business, you have email on your phones, like André was holding up his phone, it could be somebody who's attacked with their personal information, through another breach, but because you allow your people to have email on their phone, your company could become a victim. So, if you're not providing that security and awareness training to your employees, start doing it, and start doing it this holiday season, and let them know about these holiday threats, and make sure that your people don't become a victim this holiday and take down your business, because it can happen in any way. They could be working from home. We've seen it all kinds of different ways go down, guys, right? And like in today's day and age, with how companies allow the personal devices intermingle with the work stuff, you got to be careful, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Randy, any last thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, sir.
All right, my man. So if you got value on today's show, do us a favor, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, give us a review, share this with a colleague, a friend who needs to hear this stuff. And if you're feeling generous, you can buy us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Security Squawk. Helps keep the lights on and insight coming. Thanks for listening. I'm Bryan Horning alongside Randy and André. Stay alert out there. We'll see you next time on Security Squawk. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.